President Muhammad Buhari was declared winner of the 2019 general elections by INEC.
Muhammad Buhari of the All Progressives Congress, having satisfied the requirements of the law and scored the highest number of votes, is hereby declared winner and is returned elected. Thank you.
I, Muhammad Buhari,
do solemnly swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and that I will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So help me God.
So help me God.
Mr. President went right back to work. Welcome to the Heart of the Matter, where we've been talking about politics and the development of Nigeria. Today, joining me in the studio is a good friend and a journalist of many years, Mr. Jimi Disu. You're welcome to the Heart of the Matter.
Thank you very much.
As a journalist, you talk to many people. How would you assess the feelings of Nigerians after having voted him back into office and spent over 6 months in this new administration?
Give me a piece of paper and he said I should put one word down. It would be disappointment. It is clear to quite a number of people and to me that I, on a daily basis, have to monitor government as a job, that we have a serious leadership crisis. We can't run away from that. It's like if you have a bus driver who either can't drive well, or there's something wrong somewhere, either he didn't sleep well or he had too much to drink or whatever, you're not likely to get to your destination with that same driver. So we've had what I would call a leadership problem, which manifested in the first outing, but a lot of people were more sentimental, and that includes me, about voting. And in any case, the way I look at the last elections that brought in this government, in any case, was like being between a rock and a hard place. And well, we chose the hard place, and that's where we are today. It's been very, very disappointing. The issues that have cropped up, both personal to the leader and in general nature, have made one feel a bit uneasy about the direction in which the government is going. And so, in that sense, I would say most people are probably just disappointed.
So I begin to ask the question, is there something about the Nigerian, or is this, you know, just a coincidence?
Maybe the question to really ask is there a Nigerian? The way the politicians have veered the national discourse has made people go back into their shell and think of themselves in a minuscular manner. You know, you first of all think that, oh, this is a Yoruba person. Look, let's be honest with ourselves. When things do happen, you know, things happen in this country, unconsciously, the first thing that occurs to you is, who is this, where is he from? And it's an unfortunate narrative because it was never like this. You remember back in Lagos in the days, you did have people of Southeast extraction even winning elections here. Yeah. Okay? But between the soldiers and the politicians, because they always make excuses out of this. Somebody goes and steals 2 point something billion and he says, oh, it's because I'm an Igbo man or it's because I'm a Yoruba man. Over time, Nigerians have been pushed into a cocoon. So the question to ask in the first instance is there a Nigerian? The mindset of every Nigerian, I can assure you, is to take care of himself. Generally, the mindset of every Nigerian is to take care of himself. If he looks at any issue, he first of all wants to make sure, see, how does this benefit me? And so on and so forth. And therefore, you don't have anybody ready to sacrifice for what you will call a common good, you know, and so therefore you don't have that culture, and everybody is now left to do as he pleases. The other is, I don't know, we were not the only countries who went through military government, but we seem to have a lack of understanding of what democracy is. We believe democracy means that you can do as you wish, where you like, and so on and so forth. And therefore, so we don't have any culture that, you know, that makes us good and civil people. Everybody is just going in there to grab what they can.
Yeah. You mentioned something about everybody's looking for after himself.
Yes.
And I have an analogy. If you take a healthy fish and put it into a filthy pond, that pond is going to affect the healthy fish. So for Nigerians, helping yourself at the end of the day is to the detriment of all.
Yeah.
And so what can we do? Is this a reorientation project to reorient the minds, the thinking of Nigerians, to put our common interests first before our personal interests?
The only thing that will reorientate Nigerians is when their back is against the wall. And I usually say, I don't normally say this in public, maybe when we suffer a bit more. This is the way it works. You have a neighbor you don't talk to, you don't like him, whatever. But the day armed robbers come to the neighborhood, you have to become friends so you can escape. So my thinking is, when Nigerians get pushed to the wall and everybody is satisfied, something happens.
Aren't we already pushed to the wall?
No, we are not there yet. We're just a little bit. We're so lucky as a people. We're so lucky. We even had an ex-president saying that with all the monies, for example, that have been looted, what are we talking about? Look at the humongous amounts that people steal. Do you have any friends that are not Nigerians in their countries that steal that amount of money? You have an oil minister being accused of stealing $2 billion. I mean, what do you do with that kind of money? Back to what we were saying, I believe that generally, when Nigerians, when they're pushed to the wall and they see the realities of life, they will wake up. But as we are now, I don't see any hope. I mean,
can I bring another factor into it?
Yes.
What do you think? What part do you think religion has to play in the well-being of Nigeria?
I'm sorry. I mean, this is an unfair question because I'm in a church and you're a pastor. But religion has wrecked us. It's taken away our thinking faculty. It's taken away our drive. Everybody now hopes that they can just sit back, pray, and hope that a miracle will happen. But if miracles happen like that, they'll no longer be miracles. So religion itself, because religion has been commercial.
Maybe religion has not played the right role. Is there a right role?
That's putting it politely. Most of the practitioners of the religion don't understand the religion they are practicing. Because how many of them in real priestly terms would you say have a calling? How many? You know, I mean, I'm sorry to go personal. I told you that there are only 4. I don't want to mention the 4, but you're one of them that I respect in Christendom. See what has happened to the body of Christ. See what has happened to Khan. Look at some of the former Khan leaders that you have. Is that the way? Are they preaching the teachings of Christ? When you go to a church and sometimes to pray, they say you should let your enemy die, when really forgiveness is what it's all about. So, to be honest with you, and it's the same thing for the other religion too. It's the same thing. It's not any difference. I can say that because I come from a Muslim background. It's the same thing for the religion itself has done more damage than good. No, let me take back what I said. The practice of religion has done more harm than good.
I would say that one of the first things religion should do to an individual is to change their character.
It should, but what if the practitioners don't have the right character? You can only give what you have.
You see, the essence of the Christian faith is to become more like Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That's the whole essence of Christianity.
Yes.
And if that happens, then we have hope as a people.
I think it's only when God descends on this country that it will happen. I don't think it can happen, excuse me, from within. Let's be honest, Pastor. It has gotten to a point where even those who have that inclination to be religious suddenly find themselves not finding anywhere to go with people of like minds. There's a dilemma. A lot of people are going off the churches and off the mosques and forming themselves in little clusters, you know, because everything around us has been commercialized. You know what we're talking about. And a lot of them, when I look at the TV, I listen to messages and so on and so forth, you sit back and you ask yourself, talking of Christendom, for example, that I understand fairly well, is this what the body of Christ is supposed to preach?
Well, my viewpoint is that if we could, and sometimes God steps in, he says, I will judge the church first, even before judging the nation. God could arrange the circumstances that will cause people to face him.
Well, I think that generally people have lost the fear of God.
I agree with you.
They take God for granted. They don't have a clear understanding of what God is all about across all religions. It's very important for us to note that, I'm not talking about Christendom only.
Yeah, across all religions, yes.
People take God for granted. You know, a man would hide from his pastor to do certain things, but he's not afraid that God sees all. You understand what I'm saying? So I believe that the only thing that can save this country is God's direct interference. Anything short of that, I don't believe will happen.
We're going to go on a short break. When we come back, we will continue. I think we will move away from religion.
Yes, that's right.
And talk about some of the other urgent issues that face our country.
That'd be nice to know.
So please stay tuned to The Heart of the Matter. We'll be back in a moment with Mr. Jimi Disu.
My brother is an addict. He dropped out of school in 2015 and all he does is eat, smoke weed and drink alcohol. He gets violent and would destroy stuff just to get his way. He's been in and out of rehab 4 times, and my parents think it's some kind of spiritual force that needs to be prayed away. I'm afraid for their lives and for my brothers. Please help.
Family life is very important to me because I see the family as being at the center of God's redemptive plan for mankind. Every community has the family as its basic unit. It's the building block of any society.
Family life is a topic which hardly gets the attention it requires. For me, it addresses a lot of things we don't usually talk about.
So I bring this episode of Family Life every week, talking about one segment or the other of family life. We talk about marriage. How do you make marriages better? We talk about parenting. How do you deal with tough, difficult children? We talk about things like divorce, childlessness. We talk about adoption. You know, we talk about a whole variety of things on Family Life with Wale Adefarasin.
I love the fresh perspectives that Pastor Wale gives while still focusing on biblical principles. I believe that if people know better, they will do better.
And so it's important that we give family life the prime of place and the prime of attention. At the moment, we are reaching 8 states of the Federation, and our goal is to be able to reach all 36 states. And so we're looking for partners that will join hands with us, support us in getting this out. Remember, as you join to support or to partner with us in making sure we're able to expand this program beyond our present reach, you are doing something for your nation. President Buhari vowed to create 300,000 extra jobs by increasing the number of children fed through the school feeding program from 9.2 million to 15 million. At the state level, the APC government led by Babajide Sanwo-Olu promised to create 100,000 jobs for youth in his first year of office. The governor said his administration would commit 60 billion naira to support the operations of small and medium-scale enterprises, in addition to a 100% increase in access to funding. We have a huge unemployment problem in Nigeria, and one of the promises of this administration was to create jobs. Is it working? And if it isn't, where have they gone wrong?
Creating job is not an event, it's a process. And it can't be done in 4 years. When I see government bandy figures, politicians, excuse me, saying things like, oh, we're going to create 300,000 jobs, I just laugh at those things. To fight unemployment, you need to tackle the issue of skills. Mm-hmm. Okay, education and skills. But where you have your universities, sorry to say, producing half-baked graduates, most of them are unemployable. Where you have, rather, those who should take up skills now want to ride Okada because it's quick money, okay, want to buy Okada. And where you have your politicians having all these so-called empowerment programs here and there, and all they do is give them Okada and Keke Napep to drive. That's not employment. Employment is in education and skills. What is sad is that a lot of our politicians who are at the top today, who are lawyers and whatever, wouldn't have been if our law didn't have a free education scheme. But when the military came, the first industry they attacked was education. They didn't want anybody being knowledgeable about anything, and the politicians seem to have keyed into it, not knowing that the more, Awolowo's theory about the more people are educated, the more it will be easy to, lead them. If you look at the social media and you see the kind of arguments and things that come up, I mean, I had to get off Facebook. You will find that Nigerians' minds have been so toyed with and bastardized that, I'm sorry to say, a lot of them can't even think in a very straight and logical manner. If you don't take care of all these things, you're not going to be getting any employment. When you talk about employment, are you going to be talking about houseboys and housegirls and gardeners and whatever? Where are your people with skills? Look at, you want to actually build a nice house today, you have to go to Togo to go get the worker, because over the years, they have left it open. They have left the scenario open that if you want to, an education, you want to be lettered and well, whatever, you go to schools that are provided. But if you can't do that, then you have skills. So you have a kind of balance. Even in the Western world today, it's still about skills, skills, skills. We are not doing that. We're paying lip service. We're paying lip service to what we're doing at state level, at local government. And do you know what? With the level of corruption that you have, how can you hope to get anything done? You look at the massive investment in education in the old Western region compared to now.
Absolutely.
I mean, so in that sense, if you've been close to politicians, you probably wouldn't even bother to ask this, because what they do is just get, look, Jimmy, you get us this and put it together, and that's it. Some of them can't even tell you what exactly is in the policy document.
Now both of us were born when Nigeria became independent.
Yeah.
And at that time, Nigeria's population was a little under 60 million. The United Kingdom, which gave us independence, was about 48 million people.
Okay.
Today, they reckon Nigeria is nearer 200 million.
Who reckons? Because the truth is we don't have these figures. You remember when we were growing up, when our parents were in service, we had what you called a proper federal office of statistics. Is it functional? So what you do, what you find is that you're planning in a vacuum. But sorry, you wanted to say something?
Now, today, the British population is about 68 million.
Okay.
We are reportedly closer to 200 million. What has happened? And our population continues to spiral. And we're told that by 2050, we would be about 400 million, making us the third most populous nation on earth. Now, I just envisage if we found ourselves there, And we've done absolutely nothing to educate our population, to provide homes that they can live in, and so on. The people will be fighting in the streets over a loaf of bread.
Well, let me first of all start by saying that in reality, you cannot plan if you don't have figures and statistics. We have politicized the issue of population, so we do not even, nobody can tell you for certain, what can give you even a 20-30% margin about our population. Remember, it has this census thing, we could never get it right. And so we keep guessing. And based on that, the policymakers also know, well, our policymakers, if they do exist in reality, what you find is that everybody, like I said earlier in this program, they're doing things for themselves. What can we grab for our people? What can we grab for our people? It still means same set of people. So in reality, there has and there is no real planning. There is no real planning. What you have is superficial because it's all about power, power, power. That's why I say that when our backs are against the wall and there's nowhere else to go, maybe we'll all sit back and agree that it's time to. But this set of politicians is not going to happen.
How does a graduate who has come out with flying colors, even though it is very difficult to educate our people, let's say he has come from abroad, how does a graduate survive? Can't buy a car, can't rent a house, can't get adequate health care.
You talked about the young graduates coming out now from school and so on and so forth. When we came out from uni back in the day, we felt that we were going to fit into a system. Okay, that was the thinking we had. We were going to serve a country. We did a bit of that with rascality in uni, but coming out now we're more matured. We all look forward to serving our country. What the average young person looks at now is how he is going to survive.
The 5 key campaign promises made by the government were creation of jobs, building of infrastructure, development of business and entrepreneurship, healthcare, education, and political inclusion. Welcome back to the Heart of the Matter, where we've been talking with Mr. Jimi Disu. We've been talking about Nigeria, and Nigeria is the favorite topic of most Nigerians. As a matter of fact, whenever a group of Nigerians get together, whether it's a party or whatever, wherever it is, and whether it's in Nigeria or outside Nigeria, the subject of conversation always comes to Nigeria. And we become masters at talking about the problems. But what are the solutions? What can the average Nigerian citizen do himself to bring solutions to the problems we're talking about?
Well, I think that it's not an individual task. Okay, it calls for a collective. And I think it's time that people who, well-learned people, I'm not talking about necessarily being professors, but people who, we still have a few of the elite. Now, when I say the elite, I don't mean the rich, but who know what it takes, need to get more involved in matters of the country. Rather than sit back, we need to change the narrative. If we don't change the narrative, we're not going to get far. Now, usually, the Yorubas have a proverb that says that when you find trees falling on top of themselves, you pick up the one at the top. I think we need to reduce the heat in the polity. Heat in the sense that the inequalities are too wide. And you really can't get anything going with such, with such a situation that we have. We just have the rich and then we have the poor. Nothing in between. Because even those who should stay in between keep running back and forth. Run here and because Nigeria, unfortunately, is a country of funny opportunities. If you sit back and think that the average man in Europe, for example, the UK that you and I both know, he's going to look at a steady growth. But here, if organizer today could become councillor tomorrow, whatever it is, and overnight everything has changed. So we all need to agree. One individual can't do it. That's why I think that if our backs are against the wall, we'll be forced to do that. But too many people have been sitting on the fence. Too many people have left the narrative of this country to people who don't know what they're doing and are just amassing wealth and whatever and making life supposedly tidy for themselves. So we all need, or at least most of us need to have a resolve that we are going to get involved in these matters. And that is what drives me, for example, as an individual.
I think I agree with you that there is a corporate solution to this problem.
Yes.
But I also believe, and this is what I teach in church,
Yes.
that every single individual has a sphere of influence.
Okay.
And if you do what is right to all those that you have an influence over, if you will not go down the one-way road, because people will look at you and say, oh, that's Pastor Wale driving one way. If you will stand in queues, even though they laugh at you, if you will do what is right within your sphere of influence, you never know how many people you are changing by your own behavior.
It's in theory, yes, but sometimes it can be difficult and daunting. Even the simplest of things. Okay, I want to be a good citizen. I want to go stay at the bus stop and queue when the bus comes is when I'm going to leave. You could find yourself still there 24 hours later. You know, so it's a bit, in theory, yes, we would all say that and we need to encourage that, but in reality, no. We need God's intervention that will give us a leader, okay, who would...
But God is not going to send angels to intervene.
That's why I said
He's going to use Nigeria.
Well, yes, that's what, but we do need his intervention. And I'm saying this not because I'm in the church premises or whatever, but in reality. Because I don't know...
God is and has been intervening. It's just that we don't recognize it. Nigeria has suffered more than countries like DCR, or is it DRC, and countries that have gone to war. And yet we're still standing.
Which is a miracle itself because of our diversities and those who lead us. But that is why there is a need for a collective of people who know to start getting involved in the narrative and not leave. I mean, hey, come on, let's face it. I'm sure you sometimes wonder when you hear some of the corruption stories. You wonder what
Absolutely.
What are you going to do with this? So we need, maybe if you could run, for example, want to run to be governor of Lagos, that would be nice. And then you could lead us aright. Because again, we have a history of Nigerians, if they believe in their leader, they can be led. And we had a bit of that in 83, 84, until the narrative changed, and that's a story for another day. It's not a story that we want to remember.
But that raises another question.
Yes.
Young people are not given a chance. The old people remain, I mean, most of our leaders were in their 20s and 30s when they came into leadership.
Yes.
And today they still want to hang to power when the young people are not.
The young people should chuck them out. They must have chucked out the people who are older at that time. Unfortunately, the young people have a different mindset that is individualistic. Okay, they have this me and me attitude, and you wouldn't blame them. It's a culture they grew up in. We are talking of young people that were born like 85, 86. You know the way the country was when they were born. It hasn't changed.
So solutions.
Solutions. I think only God's intervention will solve this country. Will save this country, in all honesty. I try and look at it. I can write a thesis on what the solutions will be, but the question is, where will it start from? Who will bail the cat? Are people ready to follow such a person?
Again, I go back to the fact that once you have a critical mass of people who have made their minds up to live right, no matter what it costs, and it will cost, to walk, and I put it like this, to walk with God. That doesn't mean being sanctimonious and righteous, but living a life that is pleasing to God.
Yes.
If you have a critical mass of Nigerians like that, they can make a difference. 12 disciples, apostles, turned the whole of the world upside down in their day because they came with a radical revolution.
But there was no social media then.
Viewers, it's been our pleasure to bring this episode to you. We'll be back again next week with another episode, continuing in the same theme of Nigeria's economic and political development. So stay blessed. See you next week.